give it a couple minutes here because it usually cuts off the first part. All right, so this is the June 2024 live stream. As you probably saw from the description, I'm still in Delaware, Ohio, and this is the last live stream that will be from this location. And it's also most likely the last one that's going to be in a car rather than a building. It was a little questionable. I might have been able to find a place to do this inside, but well, I'll tell you guys a little bit more about it, but I haven't been able to find any place. So by the time of next month, I will be in Indiana, where I will have a building to shoot in. So that's the first thing. Let me just see what comments we have. People are starting to roll in. We've got 13 on here now. AJ, hey AJ. Hey Rala. Hey John. So it looks like people are just starting to join. Just to give you guys a little heads up on the situation, I am parked on a city street, just, you know, parallel parking style. I'm in kind of a off the beaten path neighborhood, but there are going to be cars that pass, and there's like a main street a block over, so occasionally you guys will hear like loud vehicles. I can't run the air conditioning because of the problems with the car, and I'm sitting here with the windows down, so we're just gonna have to deal with all that. There was a comment, AJ, yes, thank you for that. I did get that. I will, a lot of people have asked me not to call them out by name, the people who did donate, so I'm not gonna like go over a list, but when I talk about the car issues, I'll try to remember to talk about everybody who has sent anything so far. I do really appreciate that, because I'm kind of in a bad place, because not only do I need the money to get stuff fixed, but I also can't work. You know, if there was the right TaskRabbit task that came up, I could probably get public transit to go there. But as you guys know, TaskRabbit's been pretty slow. But I've just mostly been planning on doing DoorDash until I got out to Indiana, and I can't do that with the car being the way it is. So we'll get into a whole thing about the car, and it should be fixed Wednesday. It's just until Wednesday, I am real tight on funds. And then basically I'm planning Wednesday, as soon as it's fixed, to just like all out blitz. I mean, TaskRabbit if I can, but definitely DoorDash, and just to get caught up on some stuff. Because I'm spending just about every penny I have to get everything fixed. So, okay, before we get down into anything else, drink of the day. I've actually got two. I got this a little bit earlier. It's still kind of cold. This would be my backup drink, but this is just Coke Zero from Speedway. And then I just got lunch before I started this, and this is Mellow Yellow Zero Cherry. Yeah, from Wendy's. So these will be the drinks today. I also just poured it all over myself. It's ironically not the first thing I spilled on myself today. So, deal with that. At least it's off camera, right? Also, my hair is crazy, as I've been saying the last few months. Right before this thing with the car happened, I finally got all the money together and had like enough extra money on top that I could go get my hair cut. And it was actually on my list to text the haircut dude and set the appointment, and then the thing with the car happened. So, oh, okay. So I actually made a list, because there's a lot that has happened this month, and I have a lot on my mind. a lot that I wanted to make sure that I remember to tell you guys. So the biggest thing, the hair doesn't really help the look, but the biggest thing is I think I've lost some weight. I know we've talked about it a couple months back, but I've been eating fast food for every meal for like months. Hey Jennifer, Dragon Shore says, "IU buddy." Hey, yeah. I replied to your comment, by the way, on the community tab post. So, but I do think that I've lost some weight, and it's mostly because once I got back to Ohio, I've been more active. That's actually, that leads me into the next thing I want to talk about. But basically, when I got back to Ohio in mid-May, the plan was basically to stay in Athens for a couple days until I got my first task lined up in Columbus, come to Columbus, and then just work for the rest of the summer. But as I've mentioned, TaskRabbit has just been really, really awful this year. Hardly getting anything. And so I ended up staying in Athens for like a month rather than a few days. Maybe not quite a month, but close to that. And while I was doing that, I walked so much. I mean, Athens is you have to park really far from anything and then walk into town, basically, is what it is. So I was being really physically active. I did finally get 2 jobs, like 2 days back-to-back jobs, lined up in Columbus, which is what brought me up here. So I think when we did last month's live, I was still in Athens. I am now in Columbus. And I never got any more work after those 2 days. I did have somebody actually try to book me just the other day, and I had to cancel on them because of the car. But for the most part, I've not been getting any work with furniture assembly, whether it's TaskRabbit or otherwise. And because of that, that's why I'd been doing DoorDash, because I figured at this point, I'm moving so soon that there's no point of me getting a job. And I think it would make anybody mad if I did get a job. And then like just took off a couple weeks later. So anyway, the plan was just to do that until I got to Indiana. Basically kind of crash once I get there. Yeah. Oh, somebody commented. Oh, Jennifer says, "We'll be here until I fall asleep. Nice to see you. What's been happening in your life lately? Have an apartment." So I have an apartment in Indiana. So not yet. I'm still in the car. I have the apartment, and that's actually one of the updates is they've agreed that I can move in July 15th. August 1st was the original date that they gave me. And they said, well, you know, you could even move in earlier if you wanted. And I'm like, well, how about July 15th? Because that gives me time to get the car fixed. And then, because that's going to happen on the 3rd, assuming the guy doesn't bail on me. But that's going to get done on the 3rd. And that has to be what the problem is. Like, because I'm literally replacing everything. So that should fix it. And then from there, I can go back. I have to go back to Parkersburg. I gotta go grab something from the court. It's nothing new. It's something from December, but I just need a copy of it because I never got a copy. I hate dealing with those people. But I have to go there, get some copies of stuff from the court. I have to go to both my and my mom's storage units and get as much stuff as I can possibly fit in this car that I need to take to Indiana with me. And then I'm going to kind of try to make it fun on the drive there. I'm going to stop. Ohio just opened a new state park. It's over on the western side of the state. So I'm gonna hit that on the way. And then, yeah, pretty much that. There might be a couple other places I'll stop, but I'm gonna try to do some things on the way. And what was the rest of your question? I forget. Oh, so I guess as far as what's been happening in life, that's gonna be kind of spread out throughout the whole live stream. I'm just gonna be giving updates about a lot of different stuff. But like, yeah, technically I do have an apartment. I'm supposed to be there July 15th. That gives me kind of about 2 weeks to get myself settled in, figure out how I'm gonna make money until my first paycheck comes in from the fraternity. But I'll have housing and like Wi-Fi and utilities, and the meal plan won't kick in yet, but we do have the commercial kitchen, so I will be able to go get groceries and have a place to store them. So life will be somewhat better. And then on top of that, I am going to, I'll have like those 2 weeks to settle in, and then it's going to be a slow trickle of the guys coming in August. It's not like they're all going to be there August 1st. I'll have another couple fairly slow weeks before everybody gets there. That is one thing that I have to talk to you guys about. We're not going to get it sorted out on this stream, but one thing that is going to happen is I'm going to have to change the lives from being on Sundays. And that's because part of this job is that I'm required to go to the chapter meetings, which are on Sundays. So it is possible that we might be able to do earlier in the day on a Sunday, because I don't know what time their chapter meetings are. But I have to go to both the chapter meeting and the prudential board meeting, which is the chapter leadership. And that's every week, and except for like special, like Thanksgiving break, stuff like that. But like it's every week throughout the semester, and some chapters have their prudential the same day, so that I might have to do 2 meetings on Sunday. My chapter, we had it on Wednesday, so I don't know. But I'll figure that out once I get more oriented there. Just know for next month, we might have to do a different day, or like a few hours earlier in the day on Sunday, which I know, at least for people like in the US, that might be complicated if they're going to church on Sunday. So we'll figure it out. But yeah, so I'm now in Columbus. I've been in Columbus a good while, and I am just gonna get the car fixed Wednesday, and then everything should be at least good enough that I can make a little bit of money to hopefully catch up a little bit, and then I will go to I'll go to Indiana, and I'm gonna talk about this a little more in another video I'm gonna make, but I'll just tell you guys now, like I'm pretty much gonna retire from like DoorDash and everything once I get there. I've been doing this like for survival, because I didn't have a better option. But now that I will have all my basic needs met, like housing and stuff, but then also have enough money coming in that I could, if I really wanted to, just live on that money. It covers all my basic, like all my minimum payments and stuff. So if I wanted to, I could just live off that. I am gonna work. I mean, because I've got a lot of past stuff to pay off, and I've got a car I've either got to fix or get a new one. So I've got to work on top of my basic expenses. But it's sort of like a get out there and then see what's possible, whether that be a job in town or a remote job, working TaskRabbit remotely, or hiring a contractor to help me with that. So, okay, I'm getting behind on comments. Let me get caught up on that before I go on to the next thing. Max says, I got a job. Seems like the CompTIA, I don't know what certification that is, but that certification helped out. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I know you were looking for a long time. So, you know, and if you find out you don't like the job all that much, that's okay too. Because now you got something you can get by with while you continue to look. And then Max says, what are you going to differently with your new frat job? So basically along the lines of what I said a minute ago, it meets like all the necessities of life. Like I've got housing, internet, utilities, a place to store food, a place to make food, a place to shower, um, a place to just store my stuff. And it's not fancy. I'll make a video for you guys so you can see what the apartment looks like. It's not fancy. It is a frat house, but it's probably better than my car. So basically what I'm going to say is because all of those basics are covered, and then on top of that, I have the stipend coming in that allows me to cover all of my payments I have for the entire month, at least the minimum payments on the loans and the credit cards. That gives me a level of stability where I can go pursue things that are actually more profitable for me to bring in more money, but I haven't been able to do it because I've been so preoccupied with just surviving. So there's kind of two things that are going to happen. Number one, I want to, on top of the money from the fraternity, pursue more profitable work. And there's a lot of stuff that like I have in mind to do that. And then the other side of it, like the other 50% of my effort is going to be expended on, is catching up. I've got 3 years of past taxes to do, 21, 22, 23. That's got to be done. I got to slowly get stuff fixed on the car. And along with no longer using it as like a means to make money, those things are actually going to stick, right? Like it's not going to be I'll get one thing fixed and then like something else wears out because I've driven several thousand more miles. Basically it's I'm going to get out to Indiana and then this car is just going to be a round town car. I'll go get groceries with it. I'll go down to campus. Part of the plan, and I don't want to like ruin everything I'm thinking about for other videos, but part of the plan is once I get there, I'm probably going to have to go to Indianapolis once a month, which is about an hour drive away. This isn't going to work for the first couple months, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting my credit cards paid down to the point where I have some available credit. So, because you know, like when you go to rent a car, they have to put like a hold on your credit card, so that I'm able to do that. And on those days where I have to go to Indianapolis, I don't have to put that on this car. I can just put it on, I can just get a rental. And there is a kind of a car sharing program that IU, Indiana University, participates in. They'll let me join, but I don't get the special discount because I'm also in this weird state where I live on campus, but I don't work for I work for the fraternity. I don't work for the school and I'm not a student, but yet I'm on campus 24/7. So it's like this weird thing where I don't qualify for anything, even though I'm like there as much as the other people that do. But anyway, that's what's going to happen with that. I think I completely got sidetracked from answering whatever the actual question was. Oh, Max had asked what I was going to do differently. So yeah, I mean, that's my point, is like I could talk so much more about it, but like this is going to get me stabilized and give me sort of a balance of like where I can get caught up. and get myself caught up. I can finish losing weight. I can get myself looking human again. And, you know, so basically, and it's not going to all happen this school year. I mean, I'm planning on staying here multiple years to continue doing this, but I needed stability. And stability is honestly something that I've usually been able to provide for myself. I'm not saying I wouldn't be able to, but it might take me 2 or 3 more years to get there. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just taking this opportunity to do it now. The regular fam says, what happened with the $19 Ikea job? So they didn't officially offer me the job. I'm not certain that I ever actually had it. But I had done the interview, and after the interview, the recruiter emailed me, and she's like, you might not be interested in it because this is what they're willing to offer you. And I basically tried to negotiate with her, like logically. Like I said, you know, this is what the pay range was on the website, and what you're offering me is like less than the median of that. And this is a job that doesn't require, well, I think it required 1 year of retail experience, and I have like 20 years. So it was, you know, and I didn't say that it was insulting. Looking back at it, I probably should have just said that it was insulting. I was professional about it, but I said, you know, it leads me to believe that you think that I'm underqualified for the position to not give me like above the median pay for that pay range, when my experience is far above what the qualifications are. And you know, she basically just said, yeah, I understand your reasoning. She's like, but this is what they're willing to pay. And I never actually heard back from her after that. I went back in a couple weeks after it because I was really kind of lost in thought about the whole thing. And I went back a couple weeks later, and I actually withdrew. There's a place on the website you can do it, where you can actually withdraw your application. Out of the thousands of jobs that I've applied for, I have never done that before. But that's how insulted I was at what they wanted to pay me. And also combined with, when I did the interview, I found out that the position was, I'm sorry guys, there's of course some guy across the street mowing his yard now. I cannot live around other people. I don't know. But basically, yeah, so combine the low pay that was insulting with finding out in the interview that the position was like kind of like a labor intensive position, that it was not advertised to be. It just said it was like retail sales or something like that, when in reality I would be almost doing like warehouse work, lifting boxes all day and loading them into people's cars. So that made that difference in pay like even greater, because now I'm doing like really hard work for way less than they said they were going to pay. The other thing about that is they wanted to do an interview with me and the store manager, but in order for me to do that, I would have had to be back here in Ohio by the 15th of June. No, 15th of May, which I did end up being back by the 10th or the 11th, but I didn't think I was going to be. I thought I was going to be rushing up here to be here by the 15th. They weren't thrilled that I wasn't going to be back, but they said that they would. So, I mean, it's possible I would have driven all the way back from South Carolina to do this interview, and then they're already upset because of me being upset with the pay, and that they had to wait on me to do the interview, and then I may just not have even gotten offered the position anyway. And then, of course, by the time that I actually got back here, I knew that I had the fraternity job. So even if I'd taken the Ikea job, I would have worked there for less than 2 months, which then I think that, they would have been upset about that too. So just all around, it was not going to be a fit. AJ says, I'm excited for you, Mark. This is a huge opportunity to get caught up with your bills, etc. I hope the new job goes great. I hope so too. I've talked to my boss and his boss, and I've kind of been pretty clear with them. I was like, okay, now you guys think like this chapter is good for me, and this is not going to turn out like WVU, right? And they swear to me that it's not. It's a totally different situation. They've apologized for WVU. They told me some more details, I guess, about that whole mess. And they said they've even changed a lot of the policies in the company due to the experience that I had there. And a lot of the stuff I was doing at WVU, I don't have to do here. And so I actually asked my boss, I was like, hey, what is it primarily that's going to be my function? Because all the stuff I was doing at WVU is already taken care of here and run by the chapter. And he's like, just be present. Like, that is your main job. Just be there. And I'm just like, okay. So essentially what it is as long as nothing's going wrong, I don't have much work to do. And I would really like to just continue it like that. This seems to be a really well put together chapter. They're not a complete shit show like WVU was. And because of that, I have a weekly report I file. I have, I think it's a bi-weekly one-on-one FaceTime with my boss. I have some requirements as far as eating with the guys because I get the meal plan. I think I eat 4 meals a week with them, and there's some meetings I have to go to. There's some other property management functions, but it's just kind of like when a work order comes up. But like, honestly, it's mostly, they just want somebody there if something happens. I'm okay with that. So, I'm just going to be straight up with the guys when I get there and just be like, hey, I'm not here to complicate your lives. I'm just a dude living here too. So, let's just make this as easy on each other as possible. And, yeah, hopefully that works out. But you're right. Like, this is a great opportunity to get caught up. And it was a great opportunity back in 2021. It's just the girl screwed all that up. John says, yeah, hopefully it works out for you. I have a friend who lives in Indianapolis. It's not a bad place. I know, like, so little about Indianapolis. I was thinking about it the other day, and I've only been there 3 times. I went in '99 for a school trip for an organization I was involved in. Same organization I volunteered with after I graduated, and I went back with them in 2003. And then one time in 2014, I went to a leadership conference for the fraternity at the Indianapolis airport. We never left the airport or the hotels, so it was literally just drive there in the dead of winter, and then, yeah. Oh man, all I remember about that is how dreary and how miserably cold it was. So that's what I'm preparing myself for. I'm doing this for money, but oh my god. Like, maybe I just like not leave the house between like October and May. But hey, I'm not. You know what, guys? This is a huge positive. This is gonna be the first winter that I have had heat since 2019. Yeah. It's going to be the first winter in 5 years that I've had heat. Because winter of 1920, I was living in my little apartment in Lubeck outside of Parkersburg that had these like tiny little 2 baseboard heaters, and even on full blast, it barely warmed the room, and there were like literally holes in the walls that went outside, so that didn't help anything. The year after that, I was in Morgantown, where I didn't have heat, one, because they ran the air conditioner year round, because I don't know what's wrong with these guys, but they turned the air conditioner on full blast year round. And then at some point, someone threw a propane canister through my window, and because it was the middle of COVID, we couldn't get contractors out there, so I just didn't have a window for the rest of winter. So what little heat I did have went out there. So that was 21, 22. And then 22, 23, oh man, living with the crazy roommates who also ran the air conditioner year round. So, well, and then of course last winter I slept in the car. So that's that, yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and John, about Indianapolis. My stepbrother just recently moved away from there, maybe a year or two ago. I haven't talked to him for a while, but I mean, he would probably know some stuff. I mostly know stuff about Indy from the Fraternity. Our headquarters is in Carmel, which is like on the north side of town. So I see a lot of stuff on Facebook, because I'm like friends with my bosses on Facebook and stuff, and I see them post. I know they're pretty happy there. I mean, I'm just looking at this as like a money-making opportunity, and I'm not necessarily thinking that I'm gonna be like happy, but like when I'm gonna make the best of it. And you know, if there's something I can't do in Bloomington, I'll go to Indianapolis for a day, and that'll just, you know, that'll seem like I'm going somewhere a little more civilized, I think. Indianapolis and Columbus are about the same size, and it's weird because, like, being in Columbus, we're one of the fastest growing and biggest cities in the US, and so is Indianapolis, but you never hear that about them. But I'm expecting it to be kind of like Columbus. Okay, Max says, talk about the girlfriend documentary. When is it coming out? Well, out of everything going on, and the all the videos that I'm planning to make, that is the one that I think of most. I mean, like, literally every day, I'm kind of like in the back of my mind thinking about how I'm going to tell this story. And I don't have any kind of timeline. What I think's going to happen is I'm going to have to get settled in Indiana before I can even start filming for that. Just because it's so much. Because, like I told you guys, I'm kind of trying to do it in chapters. Do not be surprised if it's 50 chapters or more, with each segment being like at least 10 minutes. That sounds excessive, but this is 12 years of weird shit happening every single day. So just telling that story, and then, you know, even there are little segments of video I'm going to put in it. And sometimes I'm going to post screenshots of messages and things like that. And so it's not just going to be me talking the whole time, but in order for me to be in a place where I can produce that well, and also not just put a bunch of it up there and then like get sidelined by something and then don't put the rest of the story up for 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't want to do that either. I want to make sure I'm in a place where I'm settled enough that I can not post everything all one day, but I can like dedicate myself to doing it. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to get settled in I would say probably October or November is going to be when they start getting posted. As of right now, I've not filmed anything, but I'm just thinking I got to move to Indianapolis. I'm not going to have much of a pay at all until September, and I'm not going to have a full payment until the end of October, which will put me into November being the first month that's completely paid. And combine that with the guys leaving for Thanksgiving break, so I'll kind of have a week off. I think that's really when at least I'll be able to start filming that. That will actually put it at just over 12 years total. And there's still more stuff going on. I found something else out yesterday. So it's sort of a series that is, it's going to be open-ended. Like, once I get to the end and I've posted the last video that brings us up to the current day, like, more than likely there's going to be updates posted, like additional chapters, as I find out more. Because you guys know I have two requests for formal charges to be pressed against the judges that are pending right now. So it, of no timeline on that, but like, you know, let's say I get all the videos done and then they respond to that. Well, I got to make an update about that. So at some point, this will all wrap up. But that point's not now. And that point's definitely going to be after I am able to make all the videos. I mean, I think for you guys, like, it's an answer to why the hell I've not been posting videos and why my life is such a freaking disaster right now, because this is the direct cause of it. But I mean, if nothing else, it's an entertaining story. Like, if you've ever watched Jerry Springer, it's basically that, but instead of like a half-hour episode, it's gonna be like, I don't know, like 100 hours of video. So it's getting there. That's the only way I can really answer that question. Max says, how are you going to bond with the guys in the frat? Well, it is going to be different than before. When they first offered me the position in 21, my thought process was, I'm just going to go be an active member of the chapter. Like, I literally was just going to go hang out with the guys. I don't really drink, but I thought I'd make an appearance at the parties. I thought that I can, like, honestly, I really just thought that while I wasn't going to be as fully active as an active undergraduate member, that I'd just basically be one of the guys in the chapter. But after all the trauma, after everything that's happened, and yeah, I mean, you guys, well, I don't know if you see it, but like, I've become very antisocial, which is kind of weird to be in a social organization. I think being around the guys might help me get out of that funk somewhat, but I also think just as a result of things, I've kind of become an old man in a way of like, I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to talk to people. Just go in my apartment and want everybody to leave me alone. So it's gonna be a very different vibe than when I was going there before. So we'll see. I think at some point, I think the guys a little bit might be able to bring me out of my shell. And I'm definitely working on self-development a lot when I'm there. Like, part of doing this is getting myself back together completely. So maybe that part of it will get better. But at the same time, I'm not conceptualizing going there and just being one of the dudes. There's definitely going to be like a separation there. They'll probably assume it's because I'm trying to be professional and wanting that separation, and really it's just like I have a very limited tolerance for how much I can deal with people. Um, AJ says, what city is the university in? It's in Bloomington. It's southern Indiana. It's it's about an hour south of Indianapolis. So the city's pretty small. It's about 80,000 people. I mean, like, it's big enough that it has like a mall and a Target and stuff, but like, by, I'm coming from Columbus, which is one of the biggest cities in the country, and it's a lot smaller than that. It's a college town. I'm not really sure what all else goes on there, but I think college is the main focus. Yeah, so it's not going to be like Athens small, because Athens is very small, but I'll just see how I do. Regular fam says, what did you do for your 40th birthday? Well, I'm not 40 yet. I turned 39. So 40th birthday, that's like crisis mode, right? But at least I should be in a better place. I'll have a year under my belt of getting caught up on stuff. And by that time, the guys will be gone for the year, so I'll have the house to myself. I'm not sure any grand thing will happen, but, it should be better than this year. Because this year, I honestly do not remember what I did. I know I was like pretty broke, and I don't think I did anything. What did I do? Because I swear I ordered a meal for myself from somewhere. I didn't go to my favorite restaurant. I've been meaning to do that for my birthday for years. And maybe I'll do it if I have enough money. Maybe I'll do it before I go to Indiana. But, man, I don't remember what I did. It's weird because I went on a really long hike the day before my birthday, and I remember that. But I do not remember at all what I did on my birthday. Let's see. Oh, Max says, I can do cool timeline animations for the girlfriend documentary. It'll make it more professional, and I can do it for free. Okay, man. We can talk about that. I will say most of, this isn't going to be like a full-blown documentary. Like, I don't want you guys to think I'm like making some kind of Ken Burns thing. I'm just basically telling the story. And a lot of it is just going to kind of be like this. It's going to be edited, so it'll be a little more professional. But it's just going to be me like sitting here telling the story. But I am going to try to make it somewhat visually interesting, where if I'm talking about a place, I can put up pictures. I can put up pictures, and I can kind of point it out on a map, and I can give you guys some visuals. And then like later on, when it gets into the court stuff especially, I can show you some of the documents. I'll show you text messages. I have video stuff. I have everything from I have everything from police body camera footage of her arrest to like the freaking West Virginia Department of Highways intersection camera. Like basically I've tried to, anything that they didn't already destroy, I have subpoenaed to get. I mean, I don't have that power anymore, but when I had the lawsuit, I got every piece of information I possibly could to prove that the stuff didn't happen. And so I'm going to put up little snippets of all of that. I mean, obviously I'm not going to put her name, I'm not going to tell you guys where she lives, stuff like that, but I will put up evidence that doesn't reveal that stuff up so you guys have something to look at and it's not just me talking. So Max, as far as like the timeline and stuff, if I need something like that for one of the videos, I might have you do that. A lot of the okay, so like honestly, one of the places that I probably could have really used like some sort of animation was when I talk about the incident that happened at the gym. But I'm actually just going to put the actual information about the gym up there. I thought about it. I wasn't going to do it originally, but then I realized there was no reason not to put the gym's name out there because, I mean, I don't know if she's still a member. I'm not still a member. And the staff, both of the staff members that were involved in the lawsuit from there no longer work there. So there's no reason and no harm in just putting out the actual information about the gym. So I actually even have floor plans that I'm going to show you guys so you can conceptualize like where I was and where she was. And so yeah, I got real off track there, but yeah, basically Max, if when I conceptualize how to do this, if I need something like that, I'll run it by you and see if that's something that that you could do. Ryan Retirement says, how much student loans do you currently have? I do not know the answer to that. Right now, my student loans are divided between my federal and my private. All my private are with Navient, and all my federal they're now with Nelnet. They switched over to Nelnet. I could not tell you at all what my Nelnet loans are, my federal ones. And that's just because I haven't paid like for so long. I mean, what was it, 4 years ago that they stopped payments? And then in that process, it switched from Great Lakes to Nelnet. So I don't know. Everything has changed. I'm not logging in to see the balances because I'm not making payments. I have literally no clue on the federals. Now on the private loans, I want to say the small one is 15,700 and something. That number fluctuates a little bit, but I think that's what it is. The other one though, the bigger of the private loans is like, it's like 30 or 40,000 something. I don't know. See, this is really hard because even though I'm like in a better place with like time, like as far as like time, it's just kind of strange because I got hurt. Sorry, I got a little bit off track here. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys are fine. Thank you for being here, but I'm just scrolling back through a ton of comments. Oh yeah, we were talking about student loans. Okay. With my private loans, I'm also on a rate reduction plan with them. So I have like a lower interest rate and a lower monthly payment until I can get myself back on the ground and be making the full payments. So the actual pay off is slowed down somewhat on that. And I had another point, but I cannot remember what I was going to say about that. Oh, well, the other thing is, and it's on my list of stuff to talk to you guys about, I haven't filmed a yearly student loan update since 2020, but I'm working on it. In fact, give you guys a little sneak peek. I don't know if you can see that. See, I am working on stuff. These are my notes so far to be making that video. It's the annual update, but since I haven't done one since 2020, it's going to be 21, 22, 23, and so far in 24, talking about student loan balances. Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about. So basically, because Mint is no longer working and active, I can't, I'm not tracking my finances and those numbers as closely as I used to be. That is also a project for this fall, is to try to find a decent replacement for Mint. And then at that point, I have to figure out if I'm going to start making the monthly budget reviews again. It's going to be totally different if I do, but I got to find like a website or a software that replaces Mint good enough before I do that. I'm way behind on comments, guys, so let me scroll back here. AJ says, do you think there will be any issues with you being older than the frat kids? I turned 50 this year and I'm scared, haha. Man. Yeah, I'm scared of 40, to be quite honest with you, I am. I wasn't scared of 30, and in fact, I wasn't even scared of 35, but 40 scares me. Okay, so the thing is, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I mean, I'm a staff member, so, I mean, I think they assume that somebody that's going to be on staff is going to be older than them. And it also kind of gives me an excuse in little ways if, like, you know, if I don't want to go to a party and they're just like, oh, they're not going to take it personally. I might have a sneezing fit, just so you guys know. This has been an ongoing issue. Oh, okay. We'll talk about the sneezing fits after I get caught up with the comments. It's been happening more and more lately. Okay, so you know, say like they're not gonna get offended if I don't want to go to the party because they're just being like, oh, he's an old guy, like he did, you know, we understand he doesn't want to do that. I think it's gonna be totally okay. I mean, it's probably better. I think it would be weirder if I was like college age, but a staff member, but also like if I was not a member of their fraternity, but I was living in their house. I think the age is probably, yeah, I think it's probably better that I'm older. And that's what the guy who runs the house wanted. He said he definitely didn't want somebody who was a grad student because that separation in age wasn't enough for him. So yeah, he wanted somebody old. Let's see here. Oh, and AJ says, what's your favorite restaurant? There is a place in Athens, Ohio, called Casa Nueva. And it is called Casa, not Casa. You'll find that in Southeast Ohio where things are pronounced a certain way and it's not wrong. And if you pronounce them the way they look like they should be said, they know that you're not from there. There's also a little town outside Athens called Chauncey. And if you pronounce it Chauncey, we know you're not from there. But yeah, so Casa Nueva used to be called the Casa Que Pasa. It opened in the 70s as an experiment, and it became a worker-owned commune. They are part of, so it's Mexican, kind of. It's like Mexican / hippie / organic. So it's a worker-owned collective, and they, everything is seasonal and local. They do this thing called the 30-mile meal program. So all the ingredients come from within 30 miles of the restaurant. And they don't do tipping. They do, it's part of the slow food movement, meaning that you're probably going to be there for about an hour at least before you get your food, because everything's made from scratch. There's also, like, the walls are art museums, so they change out the collections. But so that's the restaurant part, and that's my favorite part. There's also the Casa Bodega and the Casa Cantina, which are like, that's the day lunch counter and the bar, and they have a lot of music shows and stuff there. So it's just a really cool place, and I've been going there like my whole life. But I don't go very often. I just don't go to sit down restaurants very often, honestly. And their burritos are like, that's what I usually get. They're enormous. The burrito is square, by the way. Like, everything here is different. It's square. They put like a seasonal topping on it, which is some kind of salsa. It's usually like rhubarb or something like that. So let's see here. So yeah, if anybody's been to Casanueva in Athens, Ohio, let me know. Maybe you can describe it a little bit better than I can. TMUSA says, when was your birthday? My birthday was June 5th. So I was in Athens. Like I said, I went for a really long hike the day before, but I cannot remember what I did on my birthday. I really don't know. Poe says, cool, Mark is on YouTube. How long has... Oh, I've been on 56 minutes as of now. Let's see. Let's see here. Sorry guys, I'm still scrolling through the comments. Poe says, oh, okay, that was the one I just read. Sandra says, I know exactly what it feels like wanting to just be away from people in general. Thank God what helped me out to have some semblance of normalcy and distraction is having really tight friends. Yeah, and I think once I get, like, settled in a place, which will be Bloomington, like, I'm sure I'll meet people and you know, make some friends. So that's been a real struggle for a while, though, because it was like when I was in Columbus, I was constantly running to Parkersburg to deal with court stuff, and I was so, like, stressed out and upset all the time. Nobody would want to be around me. And then I went to the Carolinas, and I'm not saying that this is why I didn't make friends, because it's not, but, like, had I made friends there, you know, I knew I would just be leaving in a few months. And same with coming back here. There's no point in, like, even meeting anybody, because I'm not going to be staying. But I'm staying in Bloomington for a while, a year or 2 years, maybe even more. So it's an opportunity to, like, stop isolating myself a little bit, be a little less feral. But I think it's the trauma, honestly. I think it's the trauma of everything I've gone through that has made me, like, kind of want to be away from people. And I think if I can get away from people for a while, I think if I do that, I can kind of get to a point where I'm healed enough that I can maybe be some bit of normal. Poe says, everyone, did he get that job at the college working for the fraternity? Yes, I did. AJ says, yes, Poe in Indiana. Poe says, good. I was scanning comments and I see that other people were also asking about it. TMUSA says he's been on for 45 minutes. Yes, he's moving to Indiana, moving in on July 15th. Yes, and as far as the July 15th date, I got that confirmed just a few days ago. My boss did say that he's going to have to coordinate with a couple people out there in Indiana to make it that early. And the only thing that I've heard from him since is that he sent a group email out to me and the chapter leadership asking about having a meeting sometime before the end of July. so I think it's on like a completely different topic. Basically, he agreed to the 15th. I'm planning on that. I haven't heard anything back about the people that he needs to coordinate with, but he's out of the office until the 8th, and I'll figure out with him when he gets back what exactly is going on. And even if I have to drive out there and like sleep in my car in Indianapolis for a couple days before I make the 1 hour drive south to Bloomington, I can do that too, and that gives him a little more time to figure that out. So Poe's talking to people, but I'm kind of like reading them if they're relevant to everyone. Poe had said to TMUSA, that type of job would be really good for him, and then he could really have some stability. Yep, and a roof over his head. Hard to live your life in a car. Yeah, that's something I hope, you know, I've got so many plans to make videos, and somehow they don't get made, but one of the things I do want to talk about is like how living in my car really honestly has not been that bad. It's just that there's certain aspects that of life that because of living in my car, it does make those very difficult. I haven't really found out solutions to those, but I know most people don't live in their car at some point in their life, so it might be interesting if I talk about my struggles with that. Poe says, also easy food and daily routine. That'd be so good for his life. Yeah. Now, as far as routine, I don't know. I mean, it's more of like a weekly routine than a daily. I know I have a meeting every Sunday I have to be at. I'm going to have a one-on-one every other week with my boss that I have to be awake for. But they pretty much let me do things on my own schedule. Like, it's just like, if you do this week, that's fine. We don't care when you do it kind of thing. So I'm probably, my waking hours are going to be more on the guy's schedule because I just naturally go to, I don't know where that went. I think it was a fly. I just naturally go to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning, which is probably similar to them. And I don't wake up early, which is going to be similar to them. So I think on that, we're going to be pretty good as far as living together. And I do not remember my point in saying that. But yeah, food, huge. Because it's also a huge opportunity to save money. Not only do I get meals provided once the guys move into the house, but I have a place I can store food, which means I can get food at the grocery store rather than spending so much money eating out every meal, and that makes things easier for me. I have a place to prepare food. I'm bringing my microwave and my toaster oven. So let me see here. TMUSA says agreed, perfect for him. I'm just honestly, the thing I'm worried about with the fraternity is that I'm so messed up mentally from all this stuff and from the stress and from the girl. I am literally like the most awkward human being ever. Like, just interactions with people. And fraternities are like social organizations. Like, I know how to be. Hopefully he's gonna shut that off soon. There's a truck behind me. But like, I know how to be social conceptually because I used to be, but like, I have so much like whatever this is that's like the residual stuff of the trauma that like I'm just like so antisocial. And so hopefully the fraternity is gonna help me push past that, but I also think I'm gonna be super freaking weird a lot of times. So I guess that maybe that's just something I'm gonna have to push through, learn how to person again. Max says, why do you have body camera footage in relation to your girlfriend? Well, okay, so just to be clear, she's not my girlfriend now and hasn't been for a long time. But when Okay, so basically when I was doing discovery for the lawsuit, for the first time ever, I checked into the stuff that she'd told me during our relationship. And you guys might not be surprised to know this, but a lot of it turned out not to be totally true. And so she had started to kind of get in trouble a lot. And yeah, so for her arrests, I got like dash cam footage, body camera footage, and you could argue that maybe that doesn't have anything to do with the lawsuit, but I mean, it kind of does in showing her character and her conduct, but it also just shows that she lied to me while we were together. It wasn't that like things got bad with us later and things changed. It was when things were good with us, she was lying to me about what was going on. So, it's also, I think in that particular instance, I might show you guys a couple of glimpses. Not her. I'm not going to put her on here, but I might show you a couple of glimpses of the scene. But I'm going to read. I have the actual police report. I'm going to read what the officer wrote, because for me it was incredibly validating to have him witness her behaving the way that she behaved toward me. Because y'all know, in the court case, her defense was that she's the perfect angel who's never done anything wrong in her life. When, and you're trying to vilify me as being like the bad guy in the situation, and well, the documentation proves otherwise. So when I saw that a police officer had witnessed the stuff that I've witnessed, that was, I guess, validating is the word. Because she's trying to convince me that none of that ever happened. Poe says, yeah, I doubt that Mark will ever pay more on his student loans. He shouldn't. For me, I decided that I'm quitting paying student loans too. I don't care what happens. So I'm trying to pay my private ones. You guys know I defaulted on like 3 of the private ones years and years and years ago. And those are all gone now. They're way past the statute of limitations on all 3 of them. But I am trying to I'm trying to pay the last 2. Like, because I do want to do the right thing, and I always intended on paying them. It's just that other company would not work with me. And then the federal loans, like, eventually, after 20 or 25 years or whatever it is, they're going to be forgiven anyway. And between the SAVE program and me being, like, super low income, that's... my payment is basically 0. There's a little bit of a complication with that I'll get into when I make the student loan video, but it's essentially 0 every month. So I guess my point is, the 2 private that are remaining, I'm really actually going to try to pay them. And then with the other ones, if a payment's ever due, I'll just make the minimums until they get forgiven. Okay. TMUSA says, Mark, have you received enough donations to get your car fixed? I'm not totally sure. I think it might be close, but I'm still also just hoping that this is like everything that needs fixed. It's going to be really tight, especially because I have my phone bill coming due on the 3rd. And the, what am I trying to say here? What am I trying to say? There's something else I have to pay for. Oh, well, I mean, it's the parts and it's the labor, and also I have to use an Uber Connect, which is like the package delivery. to get somebody to bring the stuff from the dealership in Columbus up here to me in Delaware. Because even though it's only like 15 miles one way, I can't drive that far. I can drive the car, by the way, if any of you wondered like why I'm in the car. I can drive the car for like a mile or two at a time, and it's definitely okay. But any more than that, it might overheat. And I don't want to even get it to where it's like too hot, so I don't drive it for more than a mile or two at a time. And that gets me everywhere I need in town. Like I can go to the gas station or go get food or go take a shower. So that's fine. I just can't leave town right now. But to answer your question, it would be helpful if I could get a little bit more. The biggest struggle right now is that obviously I still have to like eat every day, and that costs a little bit of money. And that cuts into the money that I have saved up to get the stuff. If anybody would want to, I would appreciate if you do donate anything, to do it through the PayPal, a link that's in the description of the video, rather than doing a super chat. Super chats are awesome, and generally I really like them because it helps me hit that threshold with YouTube sooner, because I don't hit that every month to get a payout. But it also means that it's like a month or a month and a half until I actually get the money from that payment. And since this is more of like an immediate thing, if you do it by PayPal, I can get it that day. So I'm going to say I'm either there or close to having all the money to get it fixed. Getting the phone bill paid and kind of like just operating expenses until Wednesday when I'm meeting with the mechanic. That's a little more sketchy just because I'm not able to do either Instacart or DoorDash until this is fixed. And even if I was to do like a TaskRabbit task and say it was somewhere right here in town I could drive to, it would still be like a few business days before that pays out. If that makes any sense. Max says I can do a 3D animation for you. I'll have to think about where we could fit that in. Like in the story, if there's something I need to illustrate, I might have you do that. Poe says my student loans were originally $65,000 plus about $5,000 for laptop, and now they've grown to $250,000 plus because they grow about $22,500 per year in interest. Nothing I can do now. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like at that point, with that much interest, I would say that would be a good argument for strategic default. If you want to look that up and see what that is, that's essentially what I did, except I did it accidentally. Like on those other three that I defaulted on years ago, I didn't mean to default on the loans. They just wouldn't like help me make lower payments or work with me in any way, and I literally did not have the money, so I ended up defaulting on them. And you know, for whatever reason, they just didn't do a very good job of ever following up on that, and now they're all past the statute of limitations. So yeah, Max, Max says, are you still in love with the ex-girlfriend? And I mean, normally I think I would have a hard time thinking of the answer to that, but honestly, like, yeah, I am. And I know that's not the answer that anybody wants to hear. But yeah, if I'm being honest, like, that is something that I was going to include in, and I still will, in the series of videos about her. Because despite everything, like, I still have those feelings for her, and that doesn't mean I'm gonna, like, do anything about it, but, yeah, that's where things stand. I may feel that way for a long time, or I might always feel that way. That's not going to change anything as far as like the status of like relationship stuff, but like I I do, like, I love her in like the sense that you mean, and I also love her in the sense of like, I care about her well-being. So yeah, just don't destroy me in the comments for that. That's just kind of the way it is. John says, Poe, are those federal or private? And Poe says, theirs were both. Poe says, my wife has been paying over 20 years. She graduated in 2000 or 2001. She's still getting bills from Mohela to pay. We were going to fight them, but right now we are not paying. Yeah, also, by now, those should be forgiven. Because I think 25 is the longest for the federal loans. 25 is like the longest time they make you wait before you get cancellation. Poe says, so all the student loan companies are so fucked up. I used to believe in the system, but now I'm jaded, like Mark. It's a worse problem than the 07-08 mortgage loan industry problem. Yeah. I mean, I'm still... Who knows what's going to happen in the end, but I'm still trying to do right by, like, the money that I took out. Except that one company that wouldn't work with me. I mean, fuck them. But that's just their own bad business decision. Like, if you don't want to accept payments, that's on you. John Doe says, yeah, I don't blame you on those federal loans. Oh my God. Just for the record, that was a bicycle that made that noise. Okay, I'm going to skip through this because they're just talking. Poe says, a lot of the people in student loan industry really don't understand what has happened to so many people. I used to be religious in paying, but now my heart has turned. Yeah, you know what? It's really weird. Like when I call into because I'm in I'm in some weird program with Navient where they're like, just take whatever payment this guy will give you because like like he might be hopeless. I'm in some kind of program like that with them, and so there's like 2 or 3 different people that work on my account. So they're all like old ladies that work from home, and they always like make comments to me about like how they just like completely understand the whole situation, like being homeless and like being and like the high interest rates and not being able to make the payments. So like even the representatives at the student loan company are like we get it, this sucks, like and it's to the point that I feel like I'm like, are you guys gonna get in trouble for like saying this stuff? But even they understand. The regular fam, you're old enough to be their father, they will definitely respect you. I mean, hopefully. I don't like to think about that because that's weird, especially with me not wanting kids. So, and then, like thinking about the whole age thing, that's weird. I mean, I hope that's true. I hope that is true. Because everybody that actually runs the joint is like 25. Like my boss and his boss are like 25. Poe says, why not make a goal to get your life together when you are there? Maybe get into a fitness routine, like maybe try some swimming. I used to, and it was great for fitness. But I would die for having a routine gym that doesn't have fees. And big colleges have the sweetest gyms, and it's easy to do a routine when 100 other people doing the same thing. So, I mean, getting myself like physically back together is part of it. Not just like fitness, but like a lot of stuff. There's just so many different things that need caught up on. It's hard to focus like too much on anything in particular. But then I will not have access to the college's gym. I don't know. I don't know if there's a gym in the house. I have the blueprints of the house, but some of the rooms aren't labeled as to what they are. So there might be a gym in the house. I am, as of right now at least, I'm planning on canceling my Planet Fitness membership when I get there. And that'll save me like $26 a month plus one annual fee, whatever that is. So it's a little bit more money saved. But I might eventually join another gym, just seeing how things go and and how they are. But there's definitely going to be a few month period where I don't have one. TMUSA says, can you take classes for free or discounted? I don't think so, because I don't work for the university. There might be stuff, I mean, I'll kind of look around when I get there, and if I do take any classes, it would be like videography, that kind of stuff, things that would help me in that way. I wouldn't go do another degree program. The other issue is, so there's also a community college, Ivy Tech, and it's free for Indiana residents. But I looked at their website and it doesn't really seem like there's much as far as classes that I'd be interested in taking anyway. I'm not planning on switching my official residency over to Indiana. Everything's going to stay registered in Ohio. So I wouldn't actually be eligible for the free tuition anyway. Magic Blaze 8, I think you were in a one-sided relationship. She was just using you for some reason, and for some reason you were oblivious to that fact. I mean, I don't think it was totally that. I'm not even sure it was that, but if it was that, I don't think it was totally that. I mean, it's kind of like, I haven't told you guys the story of what happened, so you can't really know that. Now, as far as me being oblivious, that probably is true for like a lot of it. I mean, you know, really the problem started when I started to notice stuff. You know, that was, and when I started to question things and not be blindly trusting, that's when the problem started. But if it was a one-sided relationship, it's like, I can't blame myself, and I don't think that I should be blamed, because she very much made me believe that it was not a one-sided relationship. Like, she went so incredibly far out of her way to make me believe that this was, she was interested and this was real. And it would be different if I just like made it up in my head and, you know, just had a relationship with a girl that like she didn't even know any of this was going on. But that wasn't the case. It was at most points it was her driving it forward. And so that's why it gets confusing for me when people say stuff like that. It's like, well, it's one-sided. I'm like, well, I don't think it was, but like if it was, then like she really put on a big show to make me believe otherwise. And if that is what happened, I mean, you can't blame me for that. If somebody's doing so much to convince you of something, that's not really a matter of me being oblivious. Now, maybe I was also oblivious, but I don't think the average person would have been able to see if it was a one-sided relationship, if that's what it was, with the amount of effort she was putting in to show me that this was like a real thing, if that makes any sense. TMUSA says, I've had a car do the same where you drive the car but have to keep your eye on the temp gauge. Well, see, this car doesn't have a temp gauge. That's actually part of the problem. It has a indicator light that comes on when it gets hot and it flashes, and then when it gets to the point of overheating, it turns like solid red. So as I'm driving it around, if I see that it comes on and is flashing, I'll pull over and shut it off. So it's like kind of like it's too hot, but it's not overheating yet, and that's what that means. But yeah, there's no actual temperature gauge on this car. It would be easier to manage if there was. And TMUSA says, have you ever donated plasma? I've been doing that. It pays well, and if you want me to refer you, I'll give you the bonus that I can't. I don't. I haven't, and I can't. I'm concerned with some of like the health stuff with that, but even if it wasn't for that, I cannot do needles or blood. I'm terrified of them. I have blood injury injection phobia, and the last time that I had to get blood work done, it did not go well. I passed out, for one thing. Like, it's just not going to be good. Like, honestly, like, if I ever get my life together and get insurance and go to a doctor for a checkup, I'm just going to be like, look, I don't think we're going to do blood work. This is just not going to happen. I don't like the needles. They make me queasy anyway. But then when there's also blood, I can't do that. I'm like kind of feeling a little lightheaded, like even talking about it. I cannot do needles or blood. Max says, if you're still in love with the girlfriend, why did you attempt to sue her for $3 million? Well, I didn't attempt it. I did sue her. But like those things, they're not opposites, if that makes sense. So basically, I had to do what I needed to do to stand up for myself. And regardless of how I feel about her, I had to advocate for myself. Basically, you know, it's not, well, if you love someone, you wouldn't sue them. It could be argued, really, that that's part of being a good partner, is putting your foot down and saying, I love you, but I'm not going to tolerate this behavior. And I mean, that's essentially what it is. My feelings are what they are, but I've got to the point where her treatment of me has just been so bad that I've had to do something about it. And yeah, I don't know. Those things just aren't connected, like love and suing somebody. I suppose it'd be like, sometimes you occasionally hear about like a parent that has an adult child that still lives with them, and they'll like evict their child. And it's not that they don't love their child, it's just like, they're like, I can't put up with this anymore, get out of my house, kind of thing. And to be clear, for me suing her wasn't to get her to go away. It was just to try to address the issues that she'd been trying to prevent us from addressing, and she'd like kind of put on me, and to try to get compensation for the losses that I incurred because of her. SB says, do your parents know about this YouTube channel? Do you think your father could help you out with some extra cash to help you get by during this car repair situation? I know that my father can't, and he wouldn't anyway. My father does not even have a bank account, according to him, the last time that I talked to him. I mean, it's been 5 years, but no, he wouldn't. He uses money to control me. The problem is he just doesn't really have money anymore, so that doesn't really work out for him. But he will use any means necessary to try to weasel his way into my life and to gain control. That's the main reason that I don't have anything to do with him, is he's always trying to, he's just like very possessive, if that makes sense. Now, I don't know if he knows about the YouTube channel. I've never told him about it. My mom does know about the YouTube channel. I don't really know. I know in the past she has watched my videos. I don't really know in the last couple of years if she has. She did tell me that she got her computer working again, so it's possible. But she definitely doesn't have any money. I know that for sure. Sucker MC says you should move to Las Vegas. Tons of jobs and low cost of living. I've never been there. I mean, I've got this job now in Indiana, and I don't really see a point of getting out of that. I suppose if I had a reason, like if they had a location they wanted to send me to there, or I don't know, there was some other reason. Yeah, I mean, I could look into it. John Doe says, my grandparents used to live in Las Vegas when I was a kid. I loved going there. I don't know if I would really like it. I mean, because like I've lived in Orlando and I hated that. It's like, it's great to go on vacation there because you usually go to one of the parks or something. But living there where like you're constantly there with tourists and you're not there for that and you're just trying to live your day-to-day life, people are always acting crazy, like that's not fun. So I don't know. All right, so I finally got to the bottom of the comments. You guys are completely willing to, or you're welcome to continue commenting, but I am going to work on my little list I had of stuff that I needed to tell you about. So quick updates on the job. It's pretty much confirmed that I'll be out there July 15th. I have one training session sometime before the end of July, and I think I have maybe one other meeting. I'm not sure. And then basically I just need to be settled in the house by August 1st, and then slowly the guys will start to trickle in. Starting August 1st is when I actually have to do my job, which is where I file the weekly reports. Things are going to get pretty hectic for like a week when the guys move in, and then they should get easier after that. Now, by the time that I get to Indiana, which we're talking about 2 weeks from now, I have to get the car fixed, make a shitload of money in the next few days after that happens to like make up for how far I've gotten behind for not working. Then I have to drive to Parkersburg. I have to go get the copies of stuff I need from the court, because I don't want to wait a whole other year, like until the school year's over, coming back and worrying that I don't have, like, that I still have to go do that. I just want to do it now, get that over with. I have to go visit my mom. I haven't seen her in like 2 or 3 years, something like that. I have to go visit her. That's weird. I just noticed there's like something in the corner of the screen. It's making it blurry. Anyway, so I have to go visit her. I have to go to my storage unit and her storage unit. Not only load up everything I need for Indiana, but also try to round up everything, all the documents from court, and all of the pieces of evidence that I was going to use for court, because I need to take them with me to Indiana so that I can start making this series of videos for you guys. I'm not sure how I'm going to fit all this in my car. Then I have to go from Parkersburg to Indiana. Probably not back through Columbus. I think I'm going to go to Athens and eat at Casa Nueva, my favorite restaurant. And then I'm going to cut across to Yellow Springs, spend part of the day there. And then I'm going to go to, it's called, I think Great Council is what it's called, State Park. It's the new one that just opened. So I want to go there on the way. It's in Southern Ohio. And then basically after that, I'm just going to straight shot it to Bloomington, from like the Ohio border. And then I'll just have a couple weeks to get settled in. I'm not even going to have furniture at first, so, you know, just, yeah, make it work, I guess. So that's the trip back, which means that I will be at least filming indoors for next live streams. That's good. And I thought I'd lost my pen, but here it is. All right. Make sure I mark this off here. We talked about that. That, and that. Cool. So I want to answer this question before I get into, because I'm going to tell you guys everything that's going on with the car. Now that we're an hour and a half in, I'm finally going to tell you guys what's going on with the car. Okay, so John Doe says you have to love, I'm talking about Vegas. You have to love hot weather, which I do. I think I'm okay with that kind of hot weather. It's definitely different than Ohio hot weather. Yeah, because that's like a whole worse thing. Max says doing you thing going public with the lawsuit will hurt you in the dating market. Don't you think a future girl will feel threatened? I would think not, if she's sane. Like, if she has no intention of being abusive or like doing something that would, you know, necessitate me suing her, I wouldn't think so. Except, well, I mean, you have to consider too, like, would she even know about it? I mean, I don't really assume that the girls that I'm going to be dating are going to be watching my YouTube channel. You know what I mean? I mean, not like, there's not like a funnel of girls watching my YouTube channel that, you know, then are in consideration for me to date. It would be much more likely for me to meet somebody randomly, like in person, and then, you know, who knows how long it would take before they even find out I have a YouTube channel. I would think that if you told a woman that that you were abused, that you stood up to your abuser, that would be pretty well understood, if it was even something big enough to bring up. I mean, of course, and then even if she found out about the lawsuit, she wouldn't necessarily know what the lawsuit was about. She wouldn't know who that other person is to me. I mean, it's almost kind of like something that should drive away the wrong people. Because if a girl's going to, have bad intentions with me, and she thinks that that might happen to her too, then that's good. A girl who would never think of hurting me, would never, shouldn't, I wouldn't think would have a problem with it. But at the same time, like, if we just weigh the issue of, should I be able to finally talk about this thing publicly that she's tried so hard to keep me from doing so, or should I not do that so that I don't scare off girls in the future? Well, I think that's exactly what she wants. See, I think it's like that type of fear of stuff like that she uses as the control to keep me from telling what happened. So yeah, I mean, I think it will drive off some people if they find out about it at all, but like, it's just going to be the ones that were going to do something bad. And I don't really want to have any more of that happen. Okay, so that was the last comment. Let me tell you guys the odyssey of the car, because this is going to be a story. So, somebody recently, it was like within the last day or two, somebody said something about, I hope you got the tire fixed. And I did. Tires fixed. I got a tire fixed in April. I got a tire fixed in June. So, like I told you guys a couple months back, very, very, very slowly, things are getting done and getting caught up with. Now, let me just preface this thing with the car by saying that as short as I am on money right now, it's partly because I fixed the tire, and I might have overextended myself a little bit to have the money to do that. And then I was behind on my storage unit payments, so I paid 3 months for my storage unit, and then literally the day that I mailed out the check, because I just paid February, March, and April. Wait, no. March, April, May. So I still haven't paid June. They'll deal with it. They're pretty flexible with me, but I got pretty far behind. So I paid March, April, May. And then literally the day that I mailed that check out was the day that the car started giving me problems. So what happened with the car was, you guys remember last week or 2 weeks ago now, where I'm at in Ohio, we had this thing called the heat dome. It was like 100 degrees or more every day. And the sun was absolutely brutal. I mean, on the asphalt, in the sun, in a metal car, when it's an actual 100 degrees outside, it was probably 120 or 130 degrees inside the car. And I think that is what actually caused the problem with the car. So here's the deal. Last year, like literally last summer, I started to have a coolant leak. I looked at it, and it was pretty obvious that it was just a hose that was going bad. Sorry, it's annoying. There was an upper radiator hose that was like kind of like all squishy, and it's not supposed to be. And that looked like where there was a slow leak coming from. But honestly, I've fixed that on the Cadillac that I used to have, and it's a pain in the ass, so I didn't want to mess with it. And I figured I'd wait until I had the money, and I would just pay somebody to replace the hose. In the meantime, I just checked the coolant level, and I would fill it up when it needed. Well, that was still happening. And on the first day that it was ungodly hot, I was out in the middle of nowhere. I was doing a DoorDash, I think. I was like out in the country, and I saw like one red flash on the dashboard. I've never seen that before, and it only flashed once, so I didn't see it again to see what it was. And then later that day, it started flashing a few times. And I don't know what I did, but when I Googled it, it told me that it was the low oil pressure light. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I had just checked the oil like a day or two before. And it was about 3/4 of a quart low. But I was just going to wait until it was an actual quart low so that I could just dump an entire quart in it. And so I was like, that's weird because I just checked the oil. So I went and I checked it again that day after it did this, and I was just like, okay, well, the oil is fine, like it's the same level as it was. And while I was at it, I checked the coolant because it leaks, and it was low, not like extremely low, but like it wasn't to the full line. And so I added to it, and then I had the flashing light come on a couple more times during the day. And then that night, no problems with it at all. Once it cooled down, no problems. The next day, I was driving it to go get breakfast, and the flashing red light came on again. And this time, after the flashing red light came on, it started alternately blinking red and blue. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I pull over, I shut the engine off, I turn it right back on, and it's fine, no light at all. So I start Googling what this red and blue flashing light is, and it says something about some kind of, some part is sending data to the dashboard that the dashboard can't interpret or something. So when it's saying it's overheating, I'm not actually even sure it's overheating. There might be something else that's gone wrong, and it's just telling the dashboard to turn the light on. Well, anyway, so at that point, I'm like, well, this must have just started because it's hot as hell. So, I know it's leaking coolant from that upper radiator hose. I guess it's time to replace that. So I decide to go buy the hose, and I looked around for like a mobile mechanic, and I found a guy who was going to put it on. And this guy, really, this is like the reason that this whole thing has become like such an ordeal, is because this guy's fucking crazy. I found this guy on Facebook. He's like a legit mechanic. He has a Facebook like fan page, and what is that? God. I don't know why people change their cars to sound terrible. Like, I understand if there's a problem with it, but like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so so get this guy, and here's what he tells me. He says, okay, go ahead and buy the hose. I will replace it for you. It's only going to take a few minutes. It's going to be $50. And I was like, okay. And he said, then if you want me to go ahead and diagnose the, like, if you want me to go ahead and Max, I saw your comment. I'm going to get to that, but it's going to be a while. This is a long story. But I'm basically like, okay, so I'm paying you $50. She's like, well, it's going to be $50 to replace that. And then we'll just check it after that and see if it still overheats. And if it is still overheating after you replace the hose, then I'll charge you another $50 to diagnose the overheating issue. I was like, okay. But we put the hose on, and that, by the way, it did end up stopping the leaking. It doesn't leak coolant at all anymore. So he puts the hose on, But as he did that, he spilled antifreeze like everywhere, which is not like very professional, um, but yeah, he spilled antifreeze like all over the engine, all over the ground, and so he spilled so much of it that it started like boiling on top of the radiator, and that's when I saw that there was air, like tiny little bubbles coming out of the top of the radiator. So I pointed it out to him, and I was like, well, here's the issue. Like, there must be a crack here. And he's like, yeah, that's why it's overheating. So what I think happened is I don't think the coolant leak had anything to do with it. I think that it got so hot that day, um, combined with another problem I'm going to tell you guys about in a minute, that it actually cracked the radiator, and with that crack, that's why it's overheating. Um, Now, what's crazy about it is he did that on, I don't know, let's say it was Tuesday last week. He was busy Wednesday. Thursday, I think, was the day that we were supposed to have him replace the radiator now, right? So he tells me that it's going to be $200 to replace the radiator. And he's going to give me his discount at the parts store. And then the rest is like, his for his labor. Well, I start, so I'm okay with that. And so, that night after he replaced the hose, I'm driving the car, and something weird happens. All of a sudden, the blue oil light comes on. Like, the blue light comes on, and that means the oil's too cold. That usually doesn't come on in the summer at all. It comes on in the winter, and I usually like just idle the car until it goes away. You don't have to, but there's a debate about whether you should or not. And I'm like, how in the hell is the oil cold in the middle of me driving in the middle of summer? And so, like, I'm Googling more and more about it. I'm learning about all this, and I'm like, I think I figured out what happened. I don't think there's anything wrong with the radiator. I think the hose needed replaced because it was leaking. I think the radiator cracked because of the extreme heat. Partly the extreme heat outside, but I think the other thing that's happening is that the thermostat is sticking, and it's alternating between sticking open and sticking closed. And so there have been like 2 days where not like it's been sticking open, and that's when it's basically saying that it's cold because it's flooding the entire system with coolant. And so the engine's running cold, which is not good for it, but it's better than it overheating. And then sometimes it sticks closed where it's not circulating coolant, and then the engine gets too hot. And so what I think happened is on that day that it first lit up that light is for the very first time ever, because it's never done this, I think the thermostat stuck closed. It was so damn hot outside, and it didn't circulate the coolant the way that it was supposed to. So the radiator cracked, and that's basically all of what's going on here. Now, back to this dude. So he checked it. So I just saw somebody's comment about the head gasket. I don't actually have a head gasket issue, and that's what everybody always says because they're like, "Oh, it's a Subaru, it has a head gasket issue." Well, after 2011, they don't have those problems anymore, and this is a 2013. But like that's what everybody jumps to immediately, and this mechanic did too. And he checked everything. He checked the coolant, he checked the oil to make sure like they weren't mixing together, and they're not. So I don't have any reason to think that I have a head gasket issue. So what happened though was, remember he told me he was only going to charge me $50 for the hose. and $50 to diagnose it. Well, after he did the hose, he wanted $100, which I didn't argue with because we had, I mean, well, I just appreciated having the damn hose fixed, actually. But then, like, also, I mean, we had diagnosed the issue, but it was me that found the crack. But still, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just pay him the $100. Like, the car's fixed. SB, I had a head gasket issue on a previous car that I had. I've had this car since 2017. I had a Cadillac that had a head gasket issue. I got rid of it in 2016, I think. Yeah. And then, I don't know, the car I had after that, the first Subaru I had, I was told it had a head gasket issue, but yet it ran just fine like that. So, I don't know if that really was the issue. Because I drove it for, I don't know, like tens of thousands of miles. So basically what happened though, and here's where the story gets weird, is like this guy, so he overcharges me, right? Because he's charging me 100 instead of 50. I ask him how much it's going to be for him to replace the radiator now that we know it has a crack in it. And he says, well, I'll send you a message tonight. Let me just figure it out. He had to check some prices. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So he sends me a message, says it's going to be 200. And I was like, okay, awesome. He sent me his discount. He contacted the auto parts store so that I could get like his dealership discount or whatever it is. And then it was supposed to be 8 a.m. Thursday that I had the $200 and we were supposed to replace the radiator. Well, he didn't show up. Like, I got up super early, which I don't do. I got super early. I'm waiting for him. It's hot as hell sitting outside. I'm like, where is this dude? And so I just messaged him and I just said, what's your ETA? And I didn't hear back from him for 4 hours. And then he's like, oh, sorry, I fell asleep. He's like, well, I can come over now. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, well, can you go ahead and like Cash App me the, because I'd paid him on Cash App before. He's like, can you Cash App me the money for the radiator? And I was like, well, I mean, I can just pick it up. I'm already here. Because he was having to come in from another town. I was like, I can just pick it up and, you know, have it here ready for you. But he wanted me to Cash App him the money, which seemed kind of sketchy. Like he was just going to have me do that and he was going to disappear. And then he just kind of started getting rude with me in the messages saying like, well, you need to tell me what you're doing because like I've got other customers I got to get to. I'm like, well, you're the one that overslept by 5 hours, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you. I didn't say that to him, but I thought that. And so, anyway, then I was like, I have the 200, and he's like, no, he's like, you send me the money for the radiator, and then it's 200 for me to install it. And I was like, that is not what you said. Like I sent him a screenshot of our messages. I was like, this is what you told me it was going to be. And then he argued with me, and then he said, okay, well, I'll lower it, but then it was still more than the 200. And I was like, dude, I have $200 exactly. That's all I can do. And he insisted that it was still going to be like $35 more than that. So I was like, okay, well, give me some time. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to have to try to figure out how else to get some money. And that's what we agreed on. And then he kept randomly sending me messages. And he's like, hey, send me this information about this. And like, here's like the different ones. And oh my God. And then in the process, I started realizing that he was pricing me for the cheapest radiator, which normally would be fine, except that the reviews online were really bad. It's some kind of like universal radiator. And because it's universal, it has these like extra valves on it. But then the valve covers fall off and then the car overheats. And I'm just like, okay, that's the last thing that I need, is to put all this money into this, and then like that happens. Like if I want to get a radiator, I want to get one that is going to work properly. So and also just while he was working on the car, like I told you, he like just dropped all the coolant on the ground and all over the car, and then he just kept like leaning on stuff on the car, and like a lot of the stuff inside my engine bay is not like attached, or if it is, it's attached with zip ties, and like he was messing stuff up. And then he kept making these comments about like how shitty the car was, and was just, I mean, unprofessional, but like he was just, I think, trying to make me feel bad or something. And then he was like, oh yeah, like when you go to the auto parts store, just tell him it's my account and have him tell me that it's the Subaru that's barely held together, and I'll know like which one it is. So anyway, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And so then yesterday, keep in mind that like basically after all this, I'm just like, okay, this guy, he just keeps demanding more money. He's not honoring the money that he told me that, you know, what it was going to cost. Like he didn't show up. He's being weird. And then yesterday at 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday night, he texts me, which he got my phone number because it was on like the documentation, like the contract we signed for service. And it was like the weirdest message about, he's like, this is the only message I'm going to send to you. You know, you're not a client of mine, which I'm like, how am I not a client of yours? You did work on my car. He's like, you're not a client of mine, and because of that, you do not have permission to use my account at the auto parts store. I mean, I didn't use his account at the auto parts store. I had no intention to. I didn't tell him I was going to. Like, this came out of nowhere for no reason. And then he goes on and on. He's like, because you can't be mature and communicate with me, and instead you blocked me on Facebook, which I did block him, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You know, I'm not going to ever work on your car again because you, like, because you treated me that way. So I replied to him, and I just basically, I was like somewhat professional, but I basically told him he was fucking nuts, in the most professional way possible. But I did say, like, I didn't do any of these things that you're saying. You've tried to scam me. And the reason I blocked you on Facebook is because you kept sending me random weird messages, and I decided to just be polite and just let it go rather than turning it into a fight, but you've insisted on escalating it. So anyway, what the hell? This is what I've been dealing with. And because of that, I'm out $50 because, you know, he charged me, because basically the $50 for the diagnostic was supposed to be credited to him doing the actual work on replacing the radiator. So here's where it's at right now. With all the money that you guys have sent me, I've been able to order a radiator, an upper radiator hose, or sorry, a lower radiator hose. We fixed the upper one. I have the good radiator. I got it directly from Subaru, and it was hella expensive. But if I don't get it directly from Subaru, it's going to be one of these weird generic ones that have the faulty port that makes it overheat. So I went with the one that doesn't overheat. So I ordered it directly through Subaru. It was $336. The thermostat that I need, which I think is the actual underlying problem, you can only get from Subaru. None of the parts stores have it. So I had to order it from the dealer, and that was like $45. That was a whole ordeal in itself, because they insisted that my car does not have a thermostat, and that it has some other, I don't know, some other thing that I later found out is only for model years 2019 and newer. So then I had to call them back and be like, no, I want the thing that I asked for originally. So that's supposed to be corrected now. I'm supposed to pick those parts up Tuesday. I also am getting 2 gallons of Subaru coolant, which is more expensive, but with this particular radiator, you're supposed to use a conditioner. And the coolant that you can get at the regular stores doesn't have the conditioner in it. So this has it pre-mixed. So basically what's going to happen is I just replaced the upper radiator hose. I've now bought a lower radiator hose, a thermostat, a new radiator, and 2 gallons of the Subaru branded coolant and conditioner. This means that when this gets done, I will have replaced every single part of the cooling system. So whatever is wrong with it, this is going to fix it. That's part of why I did it, and also just because the thermostat and the lower radiator hose are really hard to get to. So if you have it's attached to the radiator, so if you're pulling the radiator out, then that's the time to do it anyway. I think the thermostat is probably the original one to the car, which the car has 240,000 miles on it, so it's probably about time it needs replaced. And same with the lower radiator hose, because I've had the car since it had 71,000 miles on it, and I've never replaced it, so I think it's about probably as in bad condition as the top one, the one that was leaking. So this should completely fix all of the issues. And the car is about to enter retirement anyway, because once it gets to Indiana, it's just going to be driven around town. So it just needs this fix to make that happen. So it has been incredibly stressful between not working, worrying about the car, worrying about money, and then of course people creating all these like weird problems anyhow that don't need to exist. So the plan is now I have a guy who is a mobile mechanic, a different guy, who is going to charge me $175, which I think I hope I have enough, but he's going to charge me $175 to do all of it. The thermostat, the lower hose, and the radiator. And he's going to burp the system after that so it gets all the air out. Because for the first time in a long time, my coolant system is going to be, it's going to be sealed. So maybe that means I'll have air conditioning, because I kind of have air conditioning. Like it blows out cool air, but it doesn't work very well. And that's the way it's always been. This car has never had very good AC. So kind of see about that. Okay, so Max says, so you view the lawsuit as deference for bad behavior for future girlfriend, like USA uses aircraft carriers. Not really. I mean, because that would be like me saying, like, that's just like if I was like upfront telling them, like, hey, like, I sue any girl who fucks me over. Like, I would have sued a lot more than one girl in my life if that was the case. But just no, because I'm not like even telling them about it. And like if it comes up in conversation, like, yeah, I'll tell them about it, but like I'm not advertising it. I mean, that's the whole point of like the US and the battleships, is like it's like an intimidation factor, right? But like it's not an intimidation factor if you don't even tell them. It'd be like if you sent the battleships in and they were invisible, and only if they like came up in conversation could you make them uninvisible for them to see them. It would be more like that. It's not that I'm actively deterring bad girls. It's just I think that the only girls who would have a problem with it when they find out about it would be girls who were going to cause a problem. I think if a girl, honestly, if a girl finds out I was abused and thinks that I was wrong for doing something about that, that's, I mean, I might venture a guess that might be somebody who might be an abuser themselves. But if we don't go that far, it's at least somebody that doesn't care that I was abused. And then SB, yeah, we were talking about the head gasket. Case said, just got here. Any updates on the financials and living conditions? Financials are really bad right now, mostly due to the car. I have spent, well, one, I'm not making money right now because of the car, and two, I've spent a lot of money that I really needed to have for living expenses to get the car fixed. Living situation right now is just the same. I'm in the car until July 15th, which is when I move in Indiana. It is hotter than hell. I wake up every morning just boiling alive. It was not like this last year. I don't know why it's so much hotter this year. I am actually going to, hopefully tonight, I'm going to switch out my bed and make it more of a summer bed than a winter bed. Right now I'm sleeping on top of a 0-degree sleeping bag. Now, obviously I'm not getting in a 0-degree sleeping bag when it's 100 degrees outside. But it's like stacked among things, different layers of things to use as cushioning. But I'm actually, that might be part of why I'm so hot. So I'm gonna roll that up. The yoga mat that's under that, I'm gonna stick it under my camping mat. And my camping mat has an old fitted bed sheet on it. So we'll see how that does tonight after I do that. So I gotta clean out the whole hatch of the car to move all that stuff around. And then when I go back to the storage unit, the sleeping bag will go in there. Because you know what? Well, I don't know. Maybe it'll come to Indiana with me. I'll figure that out. So yeah. So that's my car odyssey story. Wanted to make sure I told you guys about that. And again, if anybody is willing to help with that, I mean, just make sure you do that through PayPal, because I love super chats, but they take a really long time to get to me. What is going on here? Okay. I was trying to figure something out on my phone. So the other thing that I wanted to say, you guys probably noticed, but I'm still spending all my time in the car, and I'm still eating fast food every day. And the one thing that was supposed to like make that better was I was supposed to go back to the co-working space. I haven't done that, and it's not like one solid reason. It's just I spent a lot more time in Athens than I thought I was going to before I actually made it to Columbus. And then by the time I made it to Columbus, I had my date that I was supposed to be in Indiana. And then it's only like 30 days from the time I got here to the time I'm supposed to be there. And it just didn't make sense. Plus, of course, I want to save as much money as possible. So not paying for that 1 month of co-working, I guess, saves money. Also, I'm tired. Like, I'm not sleeping all that well because I stay up late at night, and then I wake up in the morning because the car is boiling hot, because the sun's come up. So I've had a few nights lately where I'm getting up pretty early, including today. But yeah, so that's why I'm not doing the co-working thing. John Doe says it sounds like this guy is on drugs. I don't know what his problem is. I mean, he might just be weird, but like, I just don't want to deal with him. I told him not to contact me again, because like, I thought that point got across when I wasn't responding, and then I blocked him. But then he reached out to me again a different way, acting as if he was like, I don't know, like he was firing me as a client. I don't know. Case says, I missed what happened. What is this new discussion of lawsuit and girlfriend? Max has been asking me some questions about the girl and then about the lawsuit. So, like, nothing new, really. I was just answering his questions, but I mean, I'm still planning on filming the video series, but I need to get to Indiana and get settled in before I can start making it. And then, I mean, some information still is like trickling in that'll be added. Like I mentioned earlier, just found out about something else yesterday. So yeah, we'll just have to wait until I can tell all that all in one order. Max says, why don't you just have the garage order the parts? Well, what garage? Because the first guy is a mobile mechanic, and the second guy is a mobile mechanic. So like, but I mean, the parts are already ordered. I pick up the hose tomorrow because they had to order it. And then Tuesday, I'm getting the rest of it, which is the radiator, the coolant, and the thermostat. I mean, technically I ordered that from the garage because I ordered it from the Subaru dealership parts department. But I have to go pick it up. That's the only thing. I don't trust the car to do that. So I'm going to use Uber Connect. It's, last I checked, it's about $10, maybe $15. And it'll have an Uber driver go pick up the package and then drive it to me. Which, I mean, the package is like the stuff that I told you guys about. But it's like a package delivery service. Where are the comments? Oh. Case says, anything big happened since last live stream? I mean, moved from Athens to Columbus area. I'm in Delaware, which is like far north Columbus. And then been having a lot of car problems. I think it's actually just one car problem, but I'm replacing a bunch of parts to fix it. So, plus I got the solid date of July 15th for moving to Indiana. So, those are the big updates, I think. Everything else I've just been kind of, I don't know, just been kind of doing on my own. I did also want to tell you guys, you know, I mentioned last stream or the stream before that, like, I have spoken to my mom. She's really not doing very well, and that's another thing too, is like, actually after I started the stream, I saw my cousin texted me and said my mom's awake and out of the hospital, but there's more going on with my mom's health than she's telling me, and my cousin was telling me last night that, like, when she got sick 2 months ago, my mom dictated her obituary to the cousin that I'm talking to. And she's told them she's having heart problems, and she's told them that she doesn't want to be resuscitated if her heart stops. She hasn't told me any of this, so um, that makes things extra hard because, like, I was dealing with the car, and see, well, what Case is saying, see your mom before it's too late, you might regret it. See, that's just the thing. I can't. I'm in this position where, with the car being the way it is, I don't have the money. Like, because they called me at, like, I think it was Thursday night. The nursing home called me at like 10:30 at night, so I knew that probably wasn't good. And they were telling me what all was going on with her, and that they were taking her to the emergency room. And that's not all that unusual, really, but they were taking her to the emergency room, and then talking to my cousin about it, because she's actually there local and can go see her. Um, you know, she's been updating me, but I just told her, I was like, I literally can't come there. Like, there, I think it was like a big emergency. I mean, it seems like she's actually fine, but there's no way for me to get there. So, you know, that's also something that's like really weighing heavily on me too. Is like, if something does happen to her, like, I can't even go see her. So, I mean, it seems like with the text that I just got at the start of this that, like, we might be past that now. And maybe I'll have the opportunity to get the car fixed, and then if something else does happen, I can go. I am going to go see her. I haven't seen her in 2 or 3 years. I am going to go see her in person once before I leave. But, you know, once I'm in Indiana, it's going to be a 6-hour drive to get back. So I don't know. So my cousin, I mean, she's there taking care of it. She's my mom's age though, so she's like got a lot of health problems too. But I mean, I am worried. I mean, right now it's the car, but I'm also worried about money, and it's like, that just sounds like something that would happen to me. You know, that I wouldn't be able to come to my mom, like, when she's dying, because I'm just too poor. And I mean, and it's like kind of something different or extra. Like Case said, it would be like regret if I didn't go, but then it's almost like worse than regret, because it's like, I would have gone if I could, but I wasn't able to because of circumstances. And it's also like extra bad because my mom, she told me this story about my dad. My my dad has always, well, okay. My mom has always held something against my dad, really, since before they even got married, I think. And that's that when they started dating, my dad's grandmother was still alive. I mean, she was like ancient. She was born in, it was either 1884 or 1881. I'd have to look that up, but like, she died in 1982, if that tells you anything. So she was either 101 or like 98. But like, she was like the only relative, because his parents had died, and she was like the only relative, and that was left. And he lived like literally within sight of her house. And when she went to the hospital, when she ended up dying there. I don't remember the exact story, but my somebody in the family contacted my mom and told her that he should go to the hospital because they thought she was going to die, and he just didn't want to go. And she tried to convince him to go, and he wouldn't do it. And then said she did die, and she died alone and died knowing that her grandson didn't come to her side. And so, you know, knowing that and knowing how my mom felt about him doing that, and then for me to essentially be forced to do the same thing, like to my mom, just because, not because I don't want to be there, but because I can't, like, I don't have a means to get there. So this stuff has all been like really heavily weighing on me. I've been really stressed out this month. So yeah, I mean, we're at the end of the comments, and I didn't really mean to like leave this off on such a negative note, but just because that was like negative, I also didn't, I guess I put it off as like the last thing to talk about. The only other thing I can say is, I did think about doing a new segment on these live streams where I thought that I should set some goals to achieve for the month, and then like next live stream we can check in about like how I did with those. Kind of like how you do with the annual goals, and then the 6-month check-in, and then after the end of the year. But these would just be smaller monthly goals. Case says, I think we are here to listen to the negatives to better understand other people who are in a similar bad situation. Well, I mean, I try to be real on here, and I just, the realness is that I guess I'm kind of caught up in like several bad situations. Car, mom, job, girl, like all those things. But as far as goals to set for this coming month, for the rest of, well, this is the last day of the month, so I guess for next month, up until the next live stream, I'm just gonna set the goal of getting myself to Indiana and moved in to, the house. Moved in by like just having the key and being able to stay there, and everything that includes, with having a bathroom and a shower and a somewhat usable kitchen, washer and dryer. I know that sounds like a very small goal, but this is supposed to be monthly rather than annual, and consider that I do still have to get the car fixed in order to make that happen. So that's the goal for next month. I think actually after I'm settled in, maybe the monthly goals can be a little more, I don't know, like a little more robust. But hopefully if I set these monthly goals, I can start achieving things on a little bit of a faster timeline, doing them like monthly rather than annually. That was all that I had on my list. I think I'm at the end of the comments. Yeah. So, that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I have to say to you guys is, tomorrow I am going to be filming I'm going to be filming the 6-month update on the student loan what am I talking about? 6-month update on the 2024 financial goals. I have a place I can film. It's going to be a little more professional than this. I can actually set up my tripod and my lighting. It'll take me a few days to get it edited and get it up and stuff, but tomorrow is the goal for getting it filmed, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And then generally on July 9th, I try to have up the video about the annual student loan update. I will have some numbers with that. I showed you guys that I've got like notes taken about creating the video. There's some more of that I need to do before I can make it. It might be later than July 9th, but I would like to have it up sometime in July. Hopefully before the July live stream. So that'll be the first student loan update since all the changes from 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. With my balances, but also all the rule changes with like the federal loans and changing from Great Lakes to Nelnet and all. There's a lot that's happened. So I'll talk about all of that, and at least so you guys know that I am starting to be able to film again, even if it's kind of like pretty ramshackle right now. That should get better though once I'm set in a space in the house next month. Not guaranteeing professional, but it'll be better than this. Case says, I saw another YouTube channel. I saw another YouTube channel where a radiology tech in New York City making $3,000 per week, but homeless. Yeah, that sounds right, because that's $12,000 a month, depending on where they are. I mean, probably nearly half of that would just be rent, not even including utilities. There was a girl I dated when the girl and I were on a break back in 2013. I dated a girl one summer, and she was home for the summer. She went to school in New York. She lived near Washington Square, and she had 8 roommates. I'm not sure if that was including her, but like her share of the rent, I think, was like $1,200 a month. So multiply that by at least 7. So I don't want any part of that. We've talked about it before, but I don't want to ever go back to paying rent. So things have been tough. They're definitely tough right now, but if I can just get myself to Indiana, things are finally going to get a little bit easier. So and then TMUSA says, put a community comment out there when the car is fixed. Yeah, I will. I'm just waiting to hear back from this guy to confirm for sure Wednesday. He told me last night for sure. I confirmed with him today. I haven't heard back yet. But I will, hopefully it'll happen Wednesday. And I mean, that has to fix it, because there's nothing else that could go wrong. I mean, I'm literally replacing every part of the coolant system. So we should be good to go after that. And I will just work on getting myself moved and making some videos. I appreciate there are so many people here today. That's awesome. We've been pretty consistently up around 30. I'm glad you guys are still here, but that's all I have, and that's all the comments. So, yeah, when the car is fixed, hopefully Wednesday or Thursday, I will, on the community tab, put a picture up, and it should go out to you on your homepage. Or if you have notifications on for the channel, I think it'll send you a notification. But anyway, guys, that's it, and that's all I got for this month. So I'm just gonna be head down, trying to get the car fixed and getting myself to Indiana. And I'll try to get at least one video out for you before next month's live stream that will be indoors. So I will see you guys